Did the basketball gods just serve up instant karma? One moment, Sophie Cunningham is down clutching her knee, Bria Hartley smirking above her. Outrage erupts online, fans calling foul, then suddenly Hartley's own season ends in injury. This isn't just one play, it's reputation, accountability, and dirty versus tough basketball. The play began like so many others in a tight, physical WNBA game. Sophie Cunningham was sliding into position, bracing herself to absorb contact. Bria Hartley came barreling in, momentum carrying her low and into Sophie's leg. The collision didn't look clean from the start, and in an instant, the arena's energy shifted. Sophie hit the hardwood hard, her hand immediately clutching her knee. No attempt to get up. No grimace and shake it off. Just stillness and pain. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The kind of sharp inhale that spreads when fans know they're witnessing something more serious. Then a routine foul. The referees quickly signaled for a timeout, and trainers sprinted onto the floor. Teammates surrounded Sophie, some kneeling beside her, others standing frozen, hands over their mouths. The atmosphere turned heavy. Even the opposing bench grew quiet, recognizing the gravity of the moment. Cunningham's reaction said everything. She didn't even try to put weight on her leg. With help on both sides, she was carried off, grimacing as she headed straight to the locker room. No bounce back moment, no she'll walk it off. This looked different, but what ignited the controversy wasn't just the injury itself, it was what cameras caught seconds later. As Sophie remained on the floor in visible pain, a shot of Bria Hartley surfaced. She wasn't stone-faced, she wasn't distraught. Instead, she appeared to be smirking, a grin that felt sinister in the context of the moment. That single frame spread across social media almost instantly. Fans clipped it, screenshotted it, zoomed in, and shared it with captions accusing Hartley of enjoying an opponent's injury. Within minutes, the play wasn't just about Sophie Cunningham's knee, it was about Hartley's reaction. Words like malevolent, dirty, and smiling at pain flooded timelines. Whether it was a split-second expression caught at the wrong time or something more, perception became reality. For many fans, that grin told the story. Sophie wasn't just unlucky, she was targeted, and Hartley was proud of it. That image became the spark for everything that followed, fueling outrage that would only grow louder in the days ahead. The moment Sophie Cunningham hit the floor, the focus was on her health. But once that photo of Bria Hartley's grin surfaced, the conversation shifted completely. Fans weren't just worried anymore, they were angry. On social media, screenshots of Hartley's expression spread faster than any highlight of the actual play. Twitter threads popped up accusing her of being the dirtiest player in the league. Instagram comments flooded with calls for suspension. On TikTok, users slowed the clip frame by frame, adding captions like "This isn't an accident. Look at the smile." The narrative was forming in real time, and it wasn't flattering. For fans of Sophie Cunningham, the image was the last straw. They saw one of their toughest, most resilient players carried off the court, and right above her, Hartley appearing to enjoy the moment. The anger wasn't only about the collision itself, it was about intent. Basketball is physical, injuries happen, but the idea of someone celebrating another player's pain, that was unforgivable. Commentators and fan accounts piled on. If this was just an accident, why is she smiling? One viral post asked, another added, that photo says more than any press release ever could. Within hours, Hartley wasn't just a player involved in an unfortunate play. She was the face of malicious intent. Sophie herself tried to calm things down in interviews. She admitted the fall was painful but said she didn't believe Hartley had meant to hurt her. Wrong spot, wrong time, she explained, insisting there was no ill intent. But those words didn't match the image now etched into fans' minds. A picture, after all, can feel louder than any explanation. That disconnect fueled the outrage even more. Fans wanted to protect Sophie, and by extension, they wanted someone to blame. Hartley's smirk was enough to turn speculation into certainty. People could accept physicality, they could even accept accidents. What they couldn't accept was the appearance of mockery or pleasure. While a rival was writhing in pain, the controversy snowballed. Headlines called it the dirtiest play of the season. Fans demanded league action. And slowly, the story evolved from just one ugly moment into a larger narrative about who Hartley was as a player. This wasn't, in the eyes of the public, a single misstep. It was proof. The latest piece of evidence in what many were already calling a troubling pattern. The debate took over comment sections, fan forums, and sports talk segments. Some defended Hartley, arguing it was unfair to judge a player's intent from one snapshot. Others doubled down, saying a reaction like That tells you everything you need to know. By the end of the week, the divide was clear. Sophie Cunningham was the injured victim, and Bria Hartley was the accused villain, and the bigger the story got, the harder it became to separate fact from perception. By the time the Sophie Cunningham incident went viral, fans didn't see it in isolation. Instead, they stacked it on top of a growing list of moments that had already put Bria Hartley under the microscope. One play might be explained away as an accident, but multiple incidents that begins to look like a pattern. Earlier in the season, Hartley had been caught in another heated sequence, this time involving Angel Reese. A rebound battle under the basket turned ugly when cameras appeared to show Hartley grabbing a fistful of Reese's braids. Reese immediately reacted, pushing back and making her frustration clear. The play didn't draw much of a whistle from officials, but the clip circulated online within hours. Fans froze the moment, slowed it down, zoomed in, and declared that it wasn't just physical play, it was dirty. Then came the shove on Rebecca Allen again. Hartley was in the middle of contact that looked avoidable. Again, fans pulled receipts and added them to the list. Each time, she escaped major punishment from the league, but each time, her reputation took a bigger hit. That's why when Sophie Cunningham went down and the infamous grin photo surfaced, fans didn't view it as a fluke. They saw it as Exhibit A in a larger case: death, taxes, and Bria Hartley at the scene of the crime. One viral post joked, paired with clips of her past controversies. Another called her the dirtiest player in the WNBA, and she's proud of it. Hartley wasn't just being judged for one moment. She was being judged for an entire season of questionable plays. And in the court of public opinion, the verdict was already written. Sophie Cunningham hadn't been unlucky. She had been targeted by a repeat offender. As the outrage grew, the focus shifted from Hartley alone to the WNBA as a whole. Fans asked a simple question: why wasn't the league stepping in? Criticism of officiating had already been bubbling all year. Players and coaches complained about inconsistency, hard fouls ignored in one game, then touch fouls whistled in another. That inconsistency, fans argued, left players vulnerable, and Sophie Cunningham became the face of that frustration, adding fuel to the fire. Sophie herself had been fined earlier in the season for criticizing referees. She had spoken out about the lack of protection players were receiving, and the league quickly punished her with a financial penalty. Meanwhile, Hartley, who fans accused of reckless and dangerous contact, faced no meaningful discipline. The double standard was impossible for many to ignore. How could criticizing referees cost a player money, but injuring opponents carry no consequence? The optics made the league look more concerned with protecting officials' reputations than players' bodies. Even Sophie's own family joined the chorus. Her sister Lindsay and mother Paula took to social media, blasting the league for failing to protect its athletes. Paula labeled Hartley mean and out of control, while Lindsay demanded the WNBA hire officials capable of calling a consistent game. For fans already angry, their words hit like gasoline on a fire. In comment sections and sports talk shows, the refrain grew louder: the WNBA had a credibility problem. Every ignored foul, every swallowed whistle, every lack of punishment only reinforced the belief that the league was soft on safety. And Sophie's injury became the rallying cry. Just when it seemed the narrative had reached a boiling point, the story flipped on its head. Days after Sophie Cunningham was ruled out for the season with a torn MCL, the Connecticut Sun announced that Bria Hartley herself would miss the rest of the year. The reason? A torn meniscus in her right knee, suffered in practice. The timing was uncanny. Fans didn't hesitate to connect the dots. Sophie had gone down with a knee injury after colliding with Hartley, and now Hartley was sidelined with a devastating knee injury of her own. The term instant karma dominated social media. Wonder if she's grinning now, one fan posted, attaching a screenshot of Hartley's smirk. Another wrote, the basketball gods don't miss. Memes flooded timelines, portraying Hartley's injury as poetic justice. The irony stung even more for Connecticut. The Sun had built their identity on toughness and physical play, and Hartley was a key piece of that style. Losing her at the most crucial point in the season wasn't just a headline. It was a genuine setback, but for Fever fans who had spent days furious about Sophie's injury, it felt like balance had been restored. The debate shifted overnight. No longer was it just about whether Hartley's grin was malicious. Now it was about fate, fairness, and whether the universe had stepped in where the league hadn't. If there was ever a clearer hero versus villain storyline, this was it. On one side, Sophie Cunningham, injured but showing grace. On her podcast, she defended Hartley, insisting she didn't believe the play had been intentional. Wrong place, wrong time, she said, even pushing back on her mother's harsher comments. On the other side, Bria Hartley, largely silent, her reputation shaped more by perception than by her own words. That silence, paired with her visible smirk, made her an easy target. Fans filled the void with their own assumptions, and none of them were flattering. Sophie didn't stay quiet everywhere, though. On Twitter, she showed her fire with a sharp, 4-word response: F around and find out. It was a message to critics and doubters that she wasn't backing down. Together with her calmer podcast comments, the contrast painted a full picture. Sophie was tough, resilient, willing to forgive, but also unwilling to be disrespected. Hartley, by contrast, was cast as reckless, unrepentant, and careless. With her reputation, whether fair or not, the divide grew sharper by the day. Fans weren't just debating a play, they were debating character. While the controversy raged, the Indiana Fever still had a season to play. Losing Sophie was a gut punch, but the team refused to fold. If anything, her absence seemed to spark a tougher mentality across the roster. Kelsey Mitchell erupted for a 38-point performance against the Sun, a statement game that earned her Eastern Conference Player of the Week honors. Lexi Hull stepped into a leadership role, steadying the team through adversity. Aliyah Boston battled relentlessly inside, proving once again why she was one of the league's most promising bigs. And then there was Caitlin Clark. The Fever continued to handle her return cautiously, but everyone knew what her presence could mean. With Clark, Mitchell, Boston, and a resilient supporting cast, Indiana still had a path to the playoffs. In that sense, Sophie Cunningham's toughness lived on through the team. She couldn't be on the floor, but the grit she embodied spread across the roster. Indiana wasn't defined by who they lost, they were defined by how they responded. Zooming out, the saga raised bigger questions for the WNBA. What does accountability look like in a league trying to grow its audience? Can it afford to ignore fan outrage when a player develops a reputation for dangerous play? For Hartley, the damage may already be done. Fair or not, her name is now attached to one of the season's ugliest controversies. Even if she returns fully healthy, the smirk, the photo, the memes, they'll follow her. For many fans, her reputation as a dirty player is locked in. For Sophie, the opposite is true. Her grace under fire, her resilience after injury, and her dual response, calm forgiveness in one breath, fiery defiance in another, only strengthen her image. She became not just a victim of bad luck, but a symbol of toughness and integrity. And for the league, the controversy was a warning. Fans won't stay quiet about inconsistent officiating. They won't accept silence when players are injured without consequences. If the WNBA wants credibility, it has to act before perception becomes reality. The Cunningham-Hartley saga was more than just one play. It was a mirror held up to the league, forcing everyone to ask, where is the line between tough basketball and dangerous basketball, and who gets to decide when it's crossed? In the end, the Cunningham-Hartley saga wasn't just about a single collision. It became a story about perception, reputation, and how quickly narratives can take hold in the modern sports world. One photo, one grin, and suddenly Bria Hartley wasn't just a player, she was a villain in the eyes of thousands. For Sophie Cunningham, the injury was devastating. A torn MCL robbed her of the chance to keep competing. But her response defined her even more. She showed grace on her podcast, refusing to pile on Hartley, while still flashing her trademark toughness with that F around and find out message online. Sophie came out of this not just as a respected player, but as a symbol of resilience. For Hartley, the opposite. Whether intentional or not, her smirk became the lasting image of the season. Add that to her history with Angel Reese, Rebecca Allen, and others, and her reputation may never fully recover. Fair or unfair, in sports, perception often is reality. And for the league, this entire episode should serve as a wake-up call. Officiating and accountability matter. Fans are watching, scrutinizing, and demanding more transparency. If the WNBA wants to protect both its players and its credibility, it can't afford to shrug off moments like this. Basketball is always about more than the scoreboard. It's about respect, trust, and the culture you build. Sophie and Bria found themselves at the heart of a moment that will be remembered long after this season ends. A cautionary tale, a storyline of karma, and a reminder that every play can define a legacy. If you found this breakdown engaging, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other WNBA fans. It helps the conversation grow and keep stories like this alive.